the big news of the day, and this, yesterday, Laura Trump said, there's going to be more, and everything else was trending. This is dying down. Charlie Kirk, everything was trending, dying down. And then they asked the president, "Well, do you agree with your daughter-in-law?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, 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 no." Didn't really say. Today, Speaker Johnson, after House Republicans squelched a Democratic effort to get a vote on demanding the release of all the Epstein documents, boom, the Speaker of the House with our friend Benny Johnson, I call him our friend, I don't really know, I've met him, with Benny Johnson, exploded this bomb. Number 4, please.
Johnson, this is sort of on the heels of something else that a lot of people are asking questions about. And because we've been lied to by the federal government for so long, I feel like there's some type of there's a pain point, right? In the pressure cooker that gets heated up on issues like the Epstein issue, right? And obviously that's something that's taken over a lot of the online dialogue. I have a question here about it that concerns either testifying or testimony for Ghislaine Maxwell, potentially before Congress, or if you would support members like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Anna Paulina Luna on the release of subpoenaing the Epstein documents from the DOJ, whether you would support either of those.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Marjorie or Anna about that specific subject, but I'm for transparency. We're intellectually consistent in this. Look, Reagan used to tell us we should trust the American people. I believe in that principle. I know President Trump does as well, and I trust him. I mean, he put together a team of his choosing, and they're doing a great job. It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it. I mean, the White House and the White House team are privy to facts that I don't know. I mean, this isn't my lane. I haven't been involved in that. But I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it, they were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. I like Pam. I mean, I think she's done a good job. We need the DOJ focusing on the major priorities. So let's get this thing resolved so that they can deal with violent crime and public safety and election integrity and going after Act Blue and the things that the president is most concerned about, as we are. So I'm anxious to get this behind us.
Whoa. So let's talk about this. There's a few other developments in Epstein, but let's talk about this. Ben, you're a student of the Speaker. We all have become students of the Speaker. He's crazy like a fox. Is he representing his moral vision? Is it the conference? Because there are plenty of Republicans in the conference who are saying that. What do you think is causing him to take that position?
I think he's listening to the base as well, and he's obviously paying attention to people are saying, we want more, even if it's nothing. We want to see what is redacted, even if it's nothing. We want transparency, even if it shows us nothing different. I'm in that camp. I think this is one of those moments where there's so much distrust of the deep state in our government. And when you put, I also think this was a PR nightmare that could have been avoided. When you bring in conservative MAGA influencers to the White House, and I know some of them well, and you give them a binder and you tell them to walk out there with a binder and it says Epstein Files Part 1, and then it's nothing in those binders that is new or unique. You set them up to look like idiots, number one. But number two, don't act like there's more coming if you're going to do that when there's nothing else coming, is now what you're saying. So I want transparency. By the way, I would love to have her come before Congress and testify, because I think a lot of people think that trial was pretty quick. I think there's a lot of people that think there's a lot of covering up for important and very important people. Easily could be on both sides of the aisle. I don't care who you are. If you're a scumbag and you've been involved with Jeffrey Epstein and sex trafficking of young girls, underage girls, I want to know who you are, and I think you should be outed, whether you're alive or you've already passed away. I don't care if it messes up your legacy. So this comes down to, I think, the basics where the Speaker's understanding now. I've got two different sides here. What am I going to do? I'm going to say I'm in favor of transparency. That's what many people that voted for Donald Trump say they want. And there's a lot of people that aren't happy right now. So I think they're getting back to that pretty quickly. I think you can see them backpedaling, saying, okay, us putting out a statement and saying maybe it's time to move on, or a memo, is not going to do enough to make the base happy. Give us transparency. Let us see it with our own eyes.
Just before Nomi weighs in, because I'm predicting she's going to agree with much of what you said, maybe. Do you think she will testify? A prediction is difficult, especially about the future. But
yeah, that's a hard one. Look, I think there's a lot of people in Congress that are going to push really, really hard for this.
Yeah.
And I would go back to this. What is the downside? The one concern, if I was a member of Congress, would be is she going to say something that is going to out victims? Because you have to protect the victims. And I think that is something that's so important. My dad, I grew up in a law enforcement family. Protecting victims, especially of sex crimes, is so vitally important. So can you do this in an open setting, right? Where she can say what she needs to say, but also make sure you protect the victims? That is going to be a hard one. The logistics of that. If you put her closed door, then people say you're hiding something. So that's not going to work either. So I think there's a lot of rules that are going to have to be laid out here, and protections for victims. That's the number one thing I want to make sure happens.
No, I'd love for you first to say, do you think she'll ever testify? And then your overall view.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, no.
Do I think she'll ever testify? I mean, there's also her legal defense, whether her lawyers will allow her to testify, whether it puts her in a position. I mean, who knows if she's trying to, there's also probably other things, like is she trying to get pardoned? Is she withholding information? I mean, the case was very complicated, but it also moved very quickly, as Ben said. And I do love it. You know, they say this never happens. I do love it when there's a bipartisan effort where we agree, but I pretty much agree with everything Ben said. I think the politics of this was very predictable. I really don't understand how the Trump administration got themselves wrapped up in this bind. What also is fascinating to me, let's put aside the congressional politics, fascinating to me just how much of Trump's base, which is unmovable on so many things, including, you know, Donald Trump being on the Access Hollywood tapes, they're moved on Epstein. I mean, I would have never called that one. I wouldn't think that that was a thing that's going to pull them away from Donald Trump and being loyal to him, the Epstein case. So fascinating revelation in terms of the psyche of his most loyal soldiers. But aside from that, you know, Mike Johnson is playing a congressional game right now. He has to speak to the base. He knows what the margins in Congress are right now. He has to be very careful in how he dances with the administration, as we all know. And that's the most traditional, you know, fight a speaker has with a sitting president of the same party is, you know, when they don't agree on something.
Want more great clips like that? I've got an idea. Hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss a clip. And you can always watch our full episodes, join them live, go to twoway.tv.